He's Jack.
He's Jace.
And again, we're going to ramble for about 5-10 minutes, whatever.
Give or take, yeah. And following on from what we talked about last time, which was character motivation. And how you can approach this in different ways in your game. You don't necessarily need this overly detailed or particularly angled, I suppose, narrative that you need to play into, because motivations can be really, really simple. Like, for example, I'll hand over to Jace with starting with a very, very blank canvas.
Yeah, when we were discussing about what we were going to talk about for this particular episode, as it were, I ran into a very big stumbling block because I'm very much the player that I do things in the moment. But as the session goes on, I juxtapose that over my character and then backtrack and explain why my character would do something like that. So if you ask me in the moment, I'm going to give you probably a blank stare. If you ask me, why'd your character do that? Give me about 5-10 minutes, and especially by the end of the session, I will have an answer for you of why my character did that. Perfect example was in our Blades game. Gabriel somewhat started off at, I believe his concept was sleazy pickup artist or something to that effect. And I learned once we went into Grifters, I don't understand cons or anything of that like. I don't. It's just over my head. So we had Gabriel just during Who's the Greatest Con Man, go rob a woman, essentially. And it was after that point that you'll hear Gabriel, I believe, state a couple of times, he's the con man, not. And it creates somewhat of an evolution of character. My character's never the same from when it starts to where it ends, which, people aren't the same. Well, look at yourself 10 years ago and you're almost unrecognizable in some aspects to where you are today.
Don't do that. It's embarrassing and humiliating, and it's the kind of thoughts that will keep you awake at night.
The old adage, the only constant in this world is change.
Yeah. Whereas the other option that I personally prefer is to usually go with something fairly basic as a cornerstone sort of foundation building block, and then potentially building a narrative out of there. So the idea I had for an example character would be something like money, is quite a generic catch-all term for my character wants to make money, and then leading into the question of why. And that is where you get to have some fun with the answers. So some examples that I kind of thought up for different ways you could play that is maybe your character is a wanted criminal and has found somebody that is able to book passage out of the city or out of the country that your game is taking place in, but is demanding a lot of money for transporting a wanted fugitive, and also the documentation that comes with that of reinventing their identity and saying they're somebody else. So there, suddenly your character has got motivation to get an extortionate amount of money in pocket before they can deal with this individual who is capable of putting a conclusion to their particular story. Or the other option is that they are indebted again to in what seems like an insurmountable amount, which they never would have any other chance of getting without risking life and limb. Maybe they have family who have been taken hostage as collateral and that kind of thing. So again, something to talk to your GM about. But in those kind of instances, you do get those as a storyteller or a GM narrator, you do get to add in those character backgrounds of now suddenly you've got somebody who is a wanted criminal going from city to city where they've got posters up, and it gives a nice kind of opportunity for a storyteller to involve that and maybe having some chance encounters, run-in, unnecessary, unwanted run-ins with the law, that kind of thing. Whereas
Unwanted,
yeah. depends on the angle you're getting, either wanted or unwanted. But with that slightly kind of blank canvas as well, really kind of gives a nice opportunity again for a storyteller to throw in those, again, somewhat random encounters and see how the character forms, see what begins to unfold and how it affects them. And it's sort of like putting a jigsaw puzzle together without actually having the box for reference. So the picture is there, it's just you're finding it out as you go along. So, and of course, if you have your own ideas, it'd be great to hear from you. Give us a mention in the comments of any particular approaches that you like, or any other ideas you have with those basic level single word ideas, or that you could think of a new story to base that very simple motivation on, or what experiences you've had with starting out as a blank canvas and seeing where the story takes you.
With that, he's Jack.
He's Jace.
We'll see you all next time.
Peace out.